AMD has just announced their new RX 7900 XTX and RX 7900 XT, and Nvidia should be scared of that. Top tier performances, special attention to performance per watt, reasonable sized GPUs, and no stupid 12-pin connector that catch on fire. Let's have a look at the new RDNA 3 architecture. First off, new architectural design, using a chiplet made of the graphics compute die, GCD from now on, and memory cache die, MCD. Okay, sounds fancy, but what does this all mean? This means that you need to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell, and also leave a like, otherwise you'll be stuck with a GTX 730 for the rest of your life. AMD will use a 5nm tech for the main GCD, the real processor, and a 6nm tech for the memory, which implies lower prices, better efficiency, so it's all good for us consumers. 58 billion transistors. Let me repeat it, 58 billion. Double the speed of the Infinity Cache, which was already amazing, which leads to up to 5.3 terabytes per second of data transfer between the memory and the processing units. RDNA 3 will get an average of 54% better performance per watt than the older generation, with an overall calculating power of 61.6 teraflops, which is immense, almost triple 7950 XT. This is also achieved thanks to the new 64 dual issue string processor, acting like 128 string processors, leading to double the instructions per clock per each calculating unit. On top of this, there are also two AI accelerator processors for each compute unit, and on the top of the line GPU there are 96 of them, so that's amazing, and a new ray tracing accelerator with a 50% improvement over the last gen, which, as we'll see in just a minute, leads to a greater performance in ray tracing tasks. A new milestone is the implementation of the Radiance display engine. What's that? DisplayPort 2.1? Still no idea. 8K 165 Hz, 4K 480 Hz, and 2K 900 Hz, which right now you can't use them in any display, but from early 2023 there will be some announcements of DisplayPort 2.1 displays as well, so you'll be able to use them. That's insane, but that's not the entire picture. DisplayPort 2.1 can also handle 12-bit color displays, which means up to 68 billion colors. 68 billion. Right now, a 10-bit monitor can display 1 billion, I think, colors. In games, the 7900 XTX can perform between 50 to 70% better than the last gen, and up to 80% better in ray tracing tasks. Just to give you an idea, 8K Assassin's Creed Valhalla runs at 96 FPS. I've said everything. And it's going to perform even better once AMD releases the Fidelity FX Super Resolution 3, which is the equivalent pretty much of DLSS for Nvidia. With the third gen of FSR, which stands for Fidelity FX Super Resolution, FPS should double in many games, which means that you'll buy a card that will perform better than the competition in the next month. Another sweet introduction is AMD Hyper RX, a one-click optimizer that will activate the best options for each game automatically. Amazing for whoever doesn't want to bother finding the best settings for each game, especially if you switch between many games. But now there's also the need to create 8K content, because you can consume it, which means that there's the need of rendering 8K content. Here's where the new dual media engine comes into place. It can handle at the same time coding and decoding of AVC and HAVC, and also can handle AV1 up to 8K 60 FPS. And it's also 80% faster than the last generation. Sick! As for clocks, they're not as high as you can get, but it's to get the best performance per watt. 2.3 GHz of shader clock speed and 2.5 GHz front end clock speed, resulting in a 15% boost in frequency and 25% power savings. And we're talking about the top of the line RX 7900 XTX, which means the first thing I thought during the presentation is that overclockers will love this card, because if they've kept frequency lower just to make the best performance per watt possible, the retail user will love it because it won't draw all the power from your grid. But overclockers will love it as well, because it seems, as they've talked about it, that there's a lot of room for better frequencies. AMD will release at the moment 2 new GPUs, the RX 7900 XTX with 96 computational units, 2.3 GHz, 24 gigs of 384-bit GDDR6 memory, and a TDP of 355 watts, which is just 20 watts more than the RX 7950 XT. Sizes are also very similar. It's only 11 millimeters longer, and it uses dual 8-pin connectors, so it won't burn your place down. And the price is just. It's still a lot, but compared to Nvidia, it's $999 USD and will be available from 13th of December. So if you want it as Christmas gift, make sure to let your parents or your girlfriend or yourself aware of this. Then we have the RX 7900 XT, 84 computational units, 2 GHz, 20 gigs of 320-bit GDDR6 memory, and a TDP of 300 watts. Price will be $899 USD and will be also available from 13th of December. In conclusion, I want to share my humble opinion with you guys. AMD S1. If these GPUs can be compatible, not as performant as the RTX 4090, but comparable even with maybe a 4080, AMD S1. Why? Because everyone will prefer a 355 watts GPU with connectors that have been around for a decade and that you already have in your case, and then don't burn down a GPU which is slimmer, more compact, and better optimized than the 4090. AMD has done an incredible job with its drivers as well in the last years, and it's getting to a crossover point with Nvidia drivers, which could result in a catastrophe for Nvidia and great deals for consumers. Of course, we have to wait until we can do some benchmarks, but this looks like AMD's rebirth from ashes. Thank you so much for sticking until the end of the video. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and activate the notification bell so that you won't miss any future information in the tech world. I'll see you next week. Ciao!